What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Today we're going to be discussing some Toronto Maple Leafs goalie news. Man, I don't know why I just said goalie like that. But anyways, some goalie news. So if you guys are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Join the squad. Love to have you guys here. I know there's so many of you guys that love Leaf content, not just from me, but from everybody. And you're not liking or subscribing. If you want to see more, make sure to do that. It does really help me a lot. I would greatly appreciate it. So please do so if you do like the content. Again, even if you don't agree with me, let's have a good conversation in the comments. I want to start doing more lives for you guys too. But yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Maple Leafs. And, you know, I made a video on this a couple months ago, or a few months ago now. I think it might have been in January, so it's been a while. But Jacob Markstrom. So the Maple Leafs might have interest in him. I was kind of spitballing that out there a while ago, thinking that, okay, the Maple Leafs might be a potential place that would make sense for Markstrom, and potentially in the trade market, it would make sense for the Leafs to go out there and see what they could do for a guy like Markstrom. But I feel like it would have to be a pretty big trade. But let's get to where the Elliot Friedman just recently spoke about this on the 32 Thoughts podcast. And he was saying when it comes to potential suitors for Markstrom, the Leafs, the Devils, and the Senators might be potential options. Now, he went on to say that New Jersey's GM, Tom Fitzgerald, is on record saying he will consider moving his 10th overall pick. And, you know, Toronto and Calgary might not be able to get to that type of package, but apparently he's saying it's kind of complicated for Toronto and Calgary to make a deal like that. But the GM in Toronto, Brad Treliving, was the guy who signed Markstrom in Calgary. And, you know, Markstrom-Joseph Woll combination could be pretty good. I look at that and I say I could see why a team like Toronto would be interested in that potentially. And then he goes on to talk about Ottawa also having some interest in the player. Now, again, it doesn't surprise me if the Leafs are interested in a guy like Jacob Markstrom because, again, he's a starting goalie that can start a bunch of games. And who wouldn't want to have a goalie that can start a whole bunch of games? But his numbers have kind of been a little bit so-so. It hasn't been that amazing. And, you know, I've said that the Leafs need a guy like Markstrom, and potentially they could get a guy like Markstrom, and it would make sense for them. And I still think it would. But again, it's the price that you'd have to pay for a trade and the price that you're paying for him. So Markstrom is 34 years old, and you know he is a good goalie. He is pretty damn good. But $6 million for this season and next. This is something that definitely is a big sticking point here because that's a lot of money to spend on a starting goaltender. And if you look at his numbers, 2.78. decent goals against average, but the .905 save percentage is not necessarily tops in the league. Now, he did start 48 games, but games played, even, like if you look at it, Markstrom was 21st in the league. So not too bad, almost a top 20 goalie when it came to that. But like if we're looking at save percentage, okay, like he's not towards the top. You have to scroll a little bit to find him. He's 36th in the league in save percentage, and I know some of these guys up here, you know, played some very little amount of games. There's a few of them, but there's a lot of guys that are in the 30 to 50 games played mark that are way above him. And if you're looking at numbers here, like even Joseph Woll, but he started significantly less games, so that does come into play. Goals against average as well, like he's not, you know, towards the top of the list here. He's 26th when it comes to goals against. And again, these are just numbers. Calgary wasn't that great. Their blue line is pretty solid, I would say. They used to have a pretty damn good blue line, but you would think that maybe the team being not so good had something to do with Markstrom as well, but it could have also been a little bit of the mental stress. Like this is something that I know Markstrom, like he didn't want to talk about it. He was a guy that wanted things to just be done in the offseason. He didn't care to talk about it while the season was still going on. And I do respect that. And again, I played goalie. I was a goalie. I played on traveling teams. I played rep hockey. But obviously never even remotely close to this level, and never going through contract or trade discussions. But even the smallest things can take you off your game. That level of focus that you have to have is crazy. Like there would be times where I'm so focused in on something, and But right before the game, we learn like, oh, this guy's injured and he's not playing, and it's like and it's something so small like that. You gotta like, oh, okay, get focused again. This sucks that he's hurt, but I gotta focus. Or like, oh, I've got a stomach ache and I've got a headache. Okay, you gotta focus. And these are like small things. This is an NHL goaltender dealing with media, with fans, and everything like that. I could never even imagine. It's my problems times 1,000, right? This is a bona fide star in the NHL. All these guys that make it to the NHL are stars because they made it to the top of where you need to be. You know, don't let anybody tell you a fourth line guy isn't still a star because they got to the show. They got to the dance while we're sitting here talking about it and watching it from all over the world. They're the ones we're watching. So the pressure that's on any player in any situation is got to be crazy. And I'm sure that had something to do with these numbers. But again, then you have to move the goalposts and say, well, so many other guys also went through issues and they still put up good numbers. So it's a bit of a balance. I do think Markstrom for the right price would make a good trade for the Maple Leafs. And again, let's be comparative here to a guy like Ilya Samsonov, who was in the crease last year. His numbers were far worse than Markstrom's numbers. And then the guy that would be in tandem with him would be Joseph Woll, who had pretty decent numbers, pretty similar numbers, I would say, but in a very small sample size. At least with Samsonov, he had the same amount of games played. He had that 40 games played, well, 48 for Markstrom, but very close. Like a guy that can almost start 50 games. That's pretty durable. And if the Maple Leafs go, well, you don't have to start 48 because, you know, Joseph Woll is also going to start, 40 games for us, hopefully, knock on wood, if he can stay healthy. And we've had many conversations about that on this channel, but it's like, okay, this might actually be a fit. This might help him. If he plays a few less games, that might help his body stay good. He might be more focused. He might be more in the zone. It might help him for his recovery periods. We don't know. Again, we're not Jacob Markstrom, but this move, it depends on what you would have to give up as well. And this is not my top move for the Maple Leafs. If I'm making a move, I don't think Jacob Markstrom's at the top of my list because, again, it's a trade. Whereas if you go out there and get a guy like Laurent Brossoit, he's a free agent who could work in tandem with Samsonov. And then at the deadline, maybe Markstrom's not traded. Maybe you can go out there and try to get Markstrom as well. Who knows? The Leafs will have to check that out during the deadline. You don't have to necessarily get that goalie now unless you feel like you don't have anybody. The Maple Leafs still believe in Joseph Woll. The issue is if they get Woll back healthy, but that only lasts for 30 to 35 games, who's your other goaltender? Is it going to be a Markstrom? Is it going to be a Brossoit? Who is it going to be? And that's where you guys come in. I want you guys to comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Maple Leafs should go out there and get Jacob Markstrom? Should they make a trade? Because it is going to cost them a little bit, right? Now, could you make it a monster trade and potentially get one of their top defensemen if maybe it involves Mitch Marner? Who knows? Maybe they go out there and say, look, we'll take Markstrom, we'll take a first-round pick, and we'll take something else, right? Then you go and flip that first-round pick for a top 4 defenseman. Then you use some of that extra money that you spent or that you saved by trading Marner, and you go out there and get another defenseman, right? Now you have a goalie and 2 defensemen, right? That could be something. It could be. And I am going to make a little mock-up thing about this and see if I can do something because Cap Friendly's going away soon, which I can't believe that. But we'll have to come up with our own little system here. I'll have to make trades with just making pictures. Okay? We're going to figure that out. We'll use a little Photoshop. But, oh my God. What's going to happen? What are the Leafs going to do? Leave your comments down below. And if you are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Like I mentioned, I'd love to have you guys here. Thank you so much for sticking around at the Andrew Piluk Hockey channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.